All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Bloomington Weekly Celebration of Service. My name is Tracy Ivanovich, and I'm thrilled and honored to serve as your president. And I'm thrilled and honored to be back in town. Thank you, Steve, as always, for standing in and doing such a great job. In honor of Columbus Day and of our program with Steve, I thought it'd be appropriate for us to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone would stand, I waited until you all got food in your mouth. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, thank you. And our thought for the day comes to us from Sally Ride. For those of you who don't know who she is, she was the first woman, American woman, in space. And her thought for the day is young girls need to see role models in whatever careers they may choose, just so they can picture themselves doing those jobs someday. You can't be what you can't see. And for our reflection, we have Mr. Baker. He is going to be kicking off our series with past presidents, enlightening us on some of the great service that we've done in Rotary. Mike?
Thank you, President Tracy. As I get older, I sort of do some dumb things. Has anybody dropped their cell phone in the toilet before? You know, I did what they told you to take it out, dry it off, and you stick it in a bag of rice. Anybody drop a bag of rice in the toilet? No. Okay. So my reflection is going to be on my presidential year, 2017, 2018. We're going to do 40 slides in 3 minutes. So I'm not going to talk a lot, but this was my inauguration. I thought I was going to be king for a day. Hopefully this will go. Past president's dinner. We joined all 3 Rotary clubs to make it celebrating 100 years of Rotary. George Carnes was the Tuesday, and Susie Rennie was, they're going to go fast, was the Sunrise Club. We did a program at the Historical Museum, giving a little bit more for polio. We put up billboards and met outside on a cold day. This was all leading up to our Centennial Gala. Jessica Hain, our president-elect, Scholarship Committee. These were sponsors that we had for our gala. 25 Paul Harris Fellows that year. And these are those Paul Harris Fellows with Rotary International President Ian Reisling in the back. And this was all Paul Harris Fellows that were at the Centennial Gala. We had Voces Nove. And again, Rotary International President Ian and his wife Juliet, thanks to Jim's Bright, talking them to come here. Great speakers. This was our gala that we held. We had our own cake. Again, we had great programs that year. Jim Shea was the program chair, and the people in yellow were club members that did programs. Pretty varied group like we always have. Community service projects, Race for Literacy, tree planting, Boys and Girls Club. This is the sunshade at Fairfield School that we put up. Some of the kids there. Fairview. I said Fairfield, Fairview. I know I got that wrong. Tree planting at Crestmont along the roads at Sherwood Oaks and at Switchyard Park. We've got 2 limestone plaques. There's again some of the crew digging. And this was celebrating at the Boys and Girls Club playground. Again, a lot of communications, Bloom Magazine, Ryla sponsorship. The book that our club financed and converted into French. Again, 280 people attended the gala. Great financial support from our club. Feel good about what we do. We accomplished a lot of things together. And then I turned it over to Lauren Snyder as the president-elect. Thank you.
So what strikes me about that is just the diversity of projects and the broad reach that the club has done. I think that's a wonderful way for us to remember how we impact our community. And while it seems sometimes that they're little things, the little things add up. There were big things and little things, and they all matter. So that was phenomenal to see, Mike. And you look really great in a crown. Don't give up on that. All right, Mark Peterson, if you could come introduce our guests and online as well.
I'd just like to let you know that this is kind of the first time I've done any of these kind of things. And I was told I was going to be a greeter. So I practiced all week greeting. And now I'm introducing guests. So see how this goes. When I read your name, please stand up so we can recognize you. We have Jimmy Ratcliffe, a guest of Leanne Ratcliffe. Where are you? There he is, right there. I got a couple of Rotaracts, Yeha Kedar and Prutik Singh. Thank you. And Joy, do we have any online?
We do not have any guests, just a crowd of happy Rotarians.
Okay, very good. So if you need to know anything more about Rotary, just ask somebody at your table.
See you, Mark. I didn't want all that effort to go to waste. So I wanted to make sure you got to greet at least one person. So thank you for the flexibility. So birthdays this week. So a funny thing this week, we've got almost every day. We're just missing one day that has a birthday. We'll start off with Stacy Bruce on the 13th, Jim Capshew on the 14th, Carlos Laverty on the 15th, Sam Udak on the 16th. We skip the 17th, and Dave Meyer brings it home on the 18th. So a very busy birthday week. From a Rotary anniversary standpoint, Vivian Bridges, 2 years. Greer Carson, 2 years, and Ann Wren, 18 years. We have several announcements. Our first one is that we're looking for volunteers to help drive Amina. You may recall our family, that refugee family we've been sponsoring, to and from her Ivy Tech classes twice per week, as she is currently paying $80 a week for Uber fees due to no bus service out west. You may recall she's now working on her nursing/midwife certifications in the U.S., which is incredibly exciting. Natalie is going to has sent out the links. So if you have the ability to help out here, that would be wonderful. The second quick reminder is to RSV via Natalie for the November 7th FutureCast local business outlook that we will be having at Shreve Hall at Ivy Tech from 11:15 to 1. It should be an excellent opportunity to see what's going to happen economically in our community in partnership with the Chamber and IU. Tickets are $25 for Rotarians, so it's an incremental $9.98 on top of the $15.11 that we pay. So just FYI, or $9.88, I guess. Next, our district conference this year is with 2 other districts in Indiana in Indy. And they are asking all of us for our input on what programs we would like them to provide that would be most beneficial to you. So this is your chance to provide that feedback. There's a survey link that will be available on the roundabout. Take the opportunity to provide the feedback. I've been told feedback is a gift. And then lastly, we received a lovely update and a fun update from our global scholar, Noah Jager. We're going to include that in our roundabout with the pictures so you can peruse it online, but he's having a great time and really making friends and doing great stuff, and appreciative of all the support we've given him. And with that, if we could do happy dollars, Mr. Shermis. Do we have some happy people out here? I know you're thrilled for fall.
I'm happy I got to spend the weekend with my youngest grandson. He and I went to Illinois to see my mother in assisted living. She's still 97.
Any other happy dollars out there? Anything online, Joy?
Well, sure, I'll share some happy dollars. I will contribute 10 happy dollars. Yesterday, Charlotte Zitlow and I were able to finally have our lunch buddy gathering. So it was very nice to spend time with her. So that the lesson there is, even if it's past the quarter, you can still do it. So there you go.
Mr. Baker, watch his time limit, Michael.
I was reminded that my happy dollars should go towards hiring Natalie during the centennial year.
And I'd like to give 10 happy dollars because our youngest Luca actually has a girlfriend. It's the little things. I see Sandy has her hand up.
I'm donating $5 to celebrate a client that has gone from one step to another after 2 years. And we finally took the time to enroll her into the Excel Center with the orientation and everything. And just to have her understand what the tab key is on a keyboard of a computer and understand just the things that we take for granted are so rare for some people. This person's gone from homelessness to success and into a job, and we're very proud of her.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. So quite a few happy, oh, one more.
I have 30 happy dollars for my very first annual celebration with Sycamore, and I'm so grateful for all the folks who came out and supported us.
All right. And Lynn. We'll close with you, Lynn.
I have some happy dollars for Mark, who did introductions, and I stole his greeter's job.
All right. And with that, stay where you are, Michael, because I think Charlotte is going to be introducing our program today. We have our Grand Dame of Bloomington, Charlotte Zitlow, introducing our guest speaker.
In 1981, I became a county commissioner. And one of the things that happened was, and I was, let me see, I was a Democrat and I was a woman, and I was kind of weird. But because that's what people thought. But one of the first groups of people that came to see me were a bunch of veterans from the Vietnam War. And they came to see me because they thought maybe I'd listen to them. And they came because they were not feeling comfortable at all. They weren't well received by the VFW or American Legion or any normal group, regular group. And they said they would like to have us have a veteran service officer in Monroe County. We were the only city this size in the state of Indiana that didn't have one. And why not? Because the man I defeated decided we didn't need one. Well, he was wrong. And I was able to build a coalition with the president of the county council, who was a Second World War veteran, Norm Anderson. And he had been in the Navy. And he immediately said, yes, we can find room for it wasn't going to cost much because the federal government would give us the salary. And all we had to do was provide an office and a desk and a telephone, and probably a few chairs. So we decided to create one. First of all, one of our other commissioners said, "Oh, this Charlotte, you're such an easy person. We don't need that. We don't need to spend money like that." I was in the Second World War, and it was the best years of my life. And the other commissioner and I looked at him and said, "Really?" And he said, "Oh yeah, it was great." He said, "He was just such an easy touch." Well, anyway, the other commissioner said, "Well, Warren, it wasn't that way for everyone. My brother never came back." So anyway, we had a unanimous agreement to create a veteran service office here in Monroe County, and the Vietnam veterans got to help pick the person in that position. And I'm not sure, Steve, you can tell us which one you are. You're the third or fourth one?
Ooh, I'm not sure. I think it might be the fourth.
Yeah. In any case, we've had really excellent people since then. And it turned out that it's really served a huge service for this community. There are a lot of Vietnam veterans and veterans from the other many wars that we've been involved in that still need help. And Steve was chosen some time ago to become our first veteran service officer. And I was talking to somebody this morning working for one of the local medical services. And she said, she's going to come and talk to you. She said, every day she runs into veterans who don't know where to go. So I think and the Veterans Administration, the VA has had all its services in Indianapolis, but it's moving some of them down here now. So I think this community should know what's going on and who can access it and what they can get for it. So we're really very pleased that Steve Miller will join us this morning and speak about what's going on.
Thank you very much. I am Steve Miller, and I first want to just thank you all, especially Charlotte, for the lovely introduction. And I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Terre Haute, Indiana, so I'm a native to Indiana. I spent 4 years in the Air Force out at Beale Air Force Base in California. And then when I got out of the regular Air Force, I moved back to Indiana. I had no idea what I was going to do. Ended up in Bloomington and joined the Indiana Air National Guard as a way to continue my service and to help pay for some more college benefits. Well, I went to IU for about a semester, and while I was at IU that first semester, 9/11 happened. So I got activated in December of 2001, and really I just never went back to civilian life. I stuck around. So I had about a year break of active duty, and then I became what's called an active guard reservist for the Indiana Air National Guard, where it's essentially an active duty airman with some of the benefits of being active duty, but a lot of the benefits of being in the Guard. So like I didn't have to move every couple of years, which for me, that was a real big plus. So I did that for about 20 years. I spent 10 years in logistics. I put gas in airplanes. Anybody ever talks about that, they'll probably tell you it's the most fun they ever had, because you get to see and touch airplanes every day. And if you like airplanes, it's a lot of fun. And then the last 10 years, I was an intel analyst. I did imagery intelligence analysis for the United States Air Force. So I did that for about 10 years, and I retired in 2016. And my wife and I and he was going into 3rd grade. We moved here to Bloomington. So that was 2016, May of 2017, we moved here. I had a couple of jobs, trying to get my feet wet, figure out what I wanted to do when I grow up. And this job came available in 2021, and I was just thrilled. I had experiences with both my predecessor, Mary Elfsman, and other veteran service officers throughout the state, and have had great respect for what they did. And I always kind of thought, if I ever get the chance, that's what I want to do. And I felt like the luckiest guy in the world because I got to do it, and I get to do it every day. So that's just a little bit about me. We could probably go ahead and start the thing. I'm going to see if the slide advancer works. Again, I'm Steve Miller. I'm the County Veteran Service Officer. A little background on that. In the state of Indiana and 38 other states, there are county veteran service officers in every county of the state. So we're really lucky here in Indiana that we are funded to have a service officer in each state. Now, not all of them are full-time. Not all of them have more than one person in the office, but each county has a county service officer. So we're really in a good place there. A little bit about our office. There's 2 of us. Myself, I'm the director and the County Veteran Service Officer, and I have Andrew Blake as my deputy director, and he's the Assistant Veteran Service Officer. If anybody knows anything about county government, 35 hours is the normal per week. We were able to get the county to let us work 40 hours so that we can take care of more people. We're open from 8 to 4, and we do office hours at the clinic every other Friday. A little bit about the veteran population here in Monroe County. There's just over 6,500 veterans in Monroe County, according to the VA. It turns out, I get this question a lot, like, how many veterans are there, and tell me more about them. Like, well, the problem is there's no one repository that tells us how many veterans there are. It's usually self-reporting or folks that the VA is aware of, either because they're getting disability or they're in VA healthcare. So there's some kind of, they do some funny stuff with the numbers to try to figure out where they're at, but it's probably pretty close. In our clinic here, about 2,100 of our veterans in Monroe County are receiving health care through the VA, which is fantastic. We just want to get more of them in there. Some of the community outreach events and things that we partake in. If anybody has ever heard of it, there's what's called the Monroe County Veterans Treatment Court. That court is a special court presided over by Judge Dekoff, where they take veterans who have certain criminal activity in their past, and they'll allow them to go through this court program. It's either a 1 or 2 year program where they have to follow the court's guidance. It's treatment. So they usually have a alcohol or drug problem. They go through AA or NA or whatever program is best for them. And at the end, that legal trouble goes away. The state waives that for them. Pretty fantastic. It lets a lot of folks kind of have a fresh start. I have a meeting that is every other month. It's called Joining Community Forces. We get together with other veteran service providers and other folks in the community who are interested in veterans affairs and benefits, and we get together every other month to discuss those things. I'm a member of the Bloomington Senior Advocates group here in Bloomington, meets monthly. We talk about different things that seniors in our community might need. And then every year so far, we've been doing what's called a veteran stand-up. Traditionally, there are what are called stand downs, and that's where those are geared directly towards unhoused people. Within Bloomington and the veteran community here, we decided we wanted to do more than that. We wanted to both go and try to help our unhoused population of veterans and all the other veterans in our community. So we called it a stand up to kind of signify that it's more inclusive. We also do veterans case conferencing every other Wednesday, where we get together with providers, service providers from all of the different homeless shelters, the Beacon. We've got Heading Home, kind of honchos of the program. And we go line by line, name by name, figuring out, we know who all of the veterans are in our community who are unhoused, and we're working through trying to get them into permanent, stable housing. So we go through every week trying to figure out what the next steps are. If a social worker or a veteran service officer is working with one of those veterans, we might provide an update, might have other things that we need assistance from another provider. So it's a great way to get everybody on the same page and get folks housed as quickly and effectively as possible. Since January 2022, we've housed over 30 veterans with our collaborative efforts. There's also Veterans Diversion, which is a program that we help to connect veterans who are on the cusp of experiencing homelessness, get them to different service providers and other benefits and resources that might help keep them from actually becoming homeless. And then I also participate in the Monroe County Suicide Prevention Coalition. So we do a lot of work around that. I don't know if it's talked about sometimes in the news and on commercials and things, but on average in the United States, 22 veterans die by suicide every day. So it's part of what our charge is, to help find those folks and help get them connected to the resources and benefits that are going to help keep them going every day. So those are some of the bigger programs that we're kind of working through and on a regular basis. This is kind of interesting, I think, because I like some of the numbers, but my office is the only office in the county that actually brings money into the community. Every year, the VA comes up with this GDX, the geographic distribution of VA expenditures. And you can see that it's a year behind. So in 2022, the VA pumped about $57 million into Monroe County. In 2023, that figure went up by $6.5 million. And that's split into a few major categories: disability and pension benefits, about $33 million a month comes into our community, a year comes into our community for disability and pension benefits. Education benefits, just over 5 million. Insurance and indemnity, 225,000. And then medical care is just over $25 million that the VA is spending in our community. And you can see those numbers are trending upward. We're getting each year, it's I think in May or June that they come out with the GDX. We track that and see how we're doing compared to both our neighbor counties and how we did last year. Some of the benefits, what we do in our office is, I always like to say, I help connect veterans to VA, state, and local benefits and resources. So of those, the one that we spend the grand majority of our time on is helping veterans put together VA disability claims. The VA pays disability for injuries, illnesses, or diseases that were incurred or aggravated by active military service. So we have all heard of Agent Orange exposure for our Vietnam veterans. The defoliant that was used to make it so we could see what was going on in the jungles also caused about 19 different conditions, according to the VA, everything from multiple myeloma to diabetes to peripheral neuropathy. There are 19 different conditions, I think 6 different cancers, and then a bunch of different respiratory conditions and other things. So we help connect those veterans to the disability benefits that they are deserving of. We also help with what's called pensions. This is a program that's for veterans or surviving spouses, and it helps the most needy of those folks with a monthly allotment. And it is dependent, the dollar figure is dependent upon what their income and net resources are, but it can range anywhere from a couple of $100 a month to a couple of $1,000 a month. So for a lot of folks, that is the difference between being able to kind of live in their homes and get the care that they need, or not be able to do that. So we help get folks connected to those benefits. Additionally, there's VA healthcare, which is, I think a lot of people, when they think of VA, they think of the VA hospital system, which is an amazing system. And we're lucky here in Bloomington that we not only have a VA clinic, but we're in the process of, the VA is in the process of building a brand new clinic. I'm calling it sort of a super clinic because it's going to have all sorts of different service providers there. They're going to have specialists. They'll have cardiologists that come in regularly, audiologists, other pulmonologists. The prosthetics lab will come in. So it's going to be a more or less full service clinic to get folks taken care of. It'll limit the number of folks who actually have to go up to Indianapolis to get special care. So another thing, we're at IU right now, education and training. This is a huge benefit that so many veterans take part in, and we help get folks connected to VA education and training benefits. Some of the other kind of ones that people don't think about as much, like burial benefits, a headstone and marker. Every honorably discharged veteran is entitled to a headstone or marker provided by the VA free of charge. The only thing that the family would need to pay for would be the setting fees associated with that. There's a presidential memorial certificate program where the current president of the United States signs a memorial certificate letter to the surviving family. A burial flag is an entitlement of all honorably discharged veterans. And there's some reimbursement for some burial benefits, burial expenses. Additionally, we have state resources that we can help get folks connected to. One of the biggest ones is the state tuition and remission of fees for children of disabled or Purple Heart recipient veterans. So this program pays for up to 100% of all tuition and fees for the children of disabled veterans. It's an amazing program, and it gets so many folks the education that they so need. There's also vehicle license plates. We have Hoosier Disabled Veteran License Plate for veterans who have a service-connected disability for mobility reasons. There are also license plates for each branch of service. And then there's the Disabled Veteran Property Tax Deduction, where a veteran may be entitled to either $14,000 deduction or a $25,000 deduction, or in some cases, a combination of the two. We also help folks get connected to hunting and fishing licenses, the Hoosier Golden Passport, which is a 50% off state park pass for folks who are entitled to the Hoosier Disabled Veteran License Plate. And we help folks get connected to the Indiana Veterans Memorial Cemetery down in southern Indiana. Local benefits that we help with are the county burial benefit. Monroe County offers $100 burial benefit to all veterans within the community. Those are my prepared part. What I really like are questions. I like to have a conversation with everyone. So what I'd like to do is, I think Michael is going to walk around with the microphone. So if anyone has any questions, I'd love to have a conversation with you and see what we can get figured out.
Steve, thank you so much for being with us. You speak with a lot of heart for your job. And thank you, Charlotte, for arranging for Steve to speak to us today. If I understood you correctly, I think you said there are 6,500, an estimated 6,500 veterans, military veterans in Monroe County.
That's correct.
And just curious as to how do they find you? How do you find them?
Oh, this is a great question, and it's something that we spend a lot of time on. One of the things that we do is we work with a group of veteran service providers and state elected officials. We've been working on a one-page flyer that I think are done with. We're working, the Bill and Gail Cook Center for Entrepreneurship is also the kind of a honchoing this program for us. And we put together a one-sheet flyer that we're trying to get filtered out into the community. In general, about 1/3 of veterans are connected to VA benefits. About 1/3 of the veterans are connected to a veteran service organization, and about 1/3 of veterans don't want anything to do with the VA or veterans stuff in general. So those are the folks that we're really looking to get, because it's pretty easy to find folks who are already connected to the VA, and it's pretty easy to find folks who are connected to veteran service organizations. When I say that, I mean like the American Legion or VFW or AMVETS here in town. Those folks are getting kind of regular communication about what kind of benefits they're entitled to. But that 1/3 of folks who, for whatever reason, they're sort of elusive, that's who we're really trying to get a hold of. So one of the things we've been doing is working on this one page, as well as figuring out with Senator Braun's office, we got a listing of all of the major employers within a 6-county area. And we're going to be reaching out to the HR departments of each of those companies to get our flyer into their hands so that they can add that to hopefully like pay stubs or all user emails to let folks know that there are county veteran service officers out waiting to help them get connected to benefits. So I think I kind of rambled a little bit, but I think I answered most of your questions, sir. Thank you.
Yes, can you talk a little bit about the Veterans Funeral Honor Guard program? How's it funded? How it's organized?
Sure, I can speak a little to that. The Monroe County Honor Guard is a combination of the American Legion, VFW, and AMVETS. And they have members from each of those three organizations that work together to provide funeral service, funeral honors for veterans. In order to get connected to that, either you can reach out to the American Legion, VFW, AMVETS, or directly to my office, and we can help get you to the right people to get those honors.
So unless I missed it, I didn't see where your office is. I saw
Oh.
your hours, but where are you located?
I am at 214 West 7th Street, which is the Curry Building in downtown Bloomington. So just about 5 blocks from here. Thanks for that question. I should put that on the slides.
Hey, I think you mentioned during your presentation or when you were answering Jim's question that like 1/3 of veterans may not want to have anything to do with the VA.
Yes.
And I'm kind of curious as to, do you know the possible reasons of why they wouldn't, given all
Yeah.
the potential benefits they could gain?
Sure. That's a great question. And there are myriad reasons why veterans may not want to be connected to veteran service organizations or the VA. The biggest reason is that not everybody has a great experience in the military. And a lot of people just want to be done. You know, I mean, I spent 20 years in the military, and those weren't all 20 great years. Everybody has a different experience. And we're here to help those folks, especially who didn't have a good experience in the military, because sometimes, you know, I'm the only person who makes that worthwhile for them. But thank you for that. It's a great question.
My late husband was one of those people who had nothing to do with being, and because he did not consider himself a veteran. He had been in ROTC and was a second lieutenant and went through all, but he had never, what he said, served. And
Mhm.
he did not think he was worthy
Sure.
of the designation, so that whenever veterans were asked to stand, he never did, because he didn't really feel that he had served his country, building bridges in Mississippi and things like-
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Well,
there are people, I'm sure he is not the only one.
certainly. He's definitely in that 1/3 of veterans. And I thank you for his service. Even something that I have to tell veterans very regularly is you are a veteran. You served, you wore the uniform, you did your part. Just because some people will say, I'm not a veteran because I didn't deploy to Iraq or Afghanistan, or I didn't go to Vietnam, I was in Thailand. Well, you know, we all do our part. There's a saying, you know, all gave some, but some gave all. And it's true that everyone who serves has served, and we want to serve them. That's what our charge is to serve, and especially those who don't feel like they were veterans.
So other than thank a service person who's wearing a uniform for their service, what can we do as members of the public who have not served? What can we do to better support them?
Sure. Now, that's a great question that I don't have a real good answer for. But what I can say is helping folks know that we exist, that county veteran service officers are here to help. There are dozens of programs and benefits that we can help get them connected to. They may not be entitled to one thing, but we can usually get them connected to another. So kind of letting folks know that we're here, letting them know that you appreciate their service. Those are all very important things, I think.
So many of your services are for the people who are kind of marginalized in Bloomington. Do you have any sense of what proportion of, for example, the unhoused in Bloomington are veterans?
Sure. So we, as part of the veterans case conferencing that I do every other Wednesday, we have a list of 17 names right now of veterans who are unhoused currently in Bloomington. Those are the ones we know of. We have people out on the streets looking for these for these veterans and trying to get them connected to us. So we're pretty confident that the number we have is probably what is legitimate, like 17 legitimate veterans that are unhoused right now. So does that answer your question, Martha?
What proportion would it be that needs services of various kinds?
Oh, so of the 6,500 veterans within our community, how many of them? That's really hard to know. So, probably 20% are really needing assistance. Yeah, I think so.
Thank you, Steve, for
You're
coming
welcome.
today and sharing this information with all of us who can share it with others who might need to know some of this sometime. I have a couple things that I would also add. One of the reasons that a lot of veterans my age were not interested in the war, and were not interested in the VA, and I'm not one, but I know a lot who served in Vietnam and never want anything else to do with the VA. So it's just the way that war turned out to be. One thing I would mention, if you're interested, there is a program, a national program that also happens in Bloomington called Wreaths Across America. And you pay money to get wreaths at Christmas time on the graves of veterans in Rose Hill and other cemeteries in Bloomington. And if you're interested, I'll provide you info. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. In fact, it's going to be December 14th. I'm part of the committee on that. So we've been working really hard to get that program. I think this is our 4th year doing Wreaths Across America.
Genuine. I'm sorry. Again.
There may have been a question online. Joy, did you see one?
I don't see a question, but I know that, Elizabeth, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Do you want to
Oh,
share
yeah.
what you wrote? Yeah, go ahead.
Happy to. For many, many years, my dad was in the Army just towards the end of the Korean War, and he didn't think he qualified for benefits. And he actually got an illness that originally we thought was ALS. And I knew the VA provided benefits for ALS related illness with soldiers. He ended up with something else called dermatomyositis. But he did apply and he ended up qualifying, which was a huge assistance for him during assisted living. It provided aid and attendance for my mother after he died, and she's receiving a stipend continually since his death that has really helped support her care. So I'm grateful for what it has done for families of the VA.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. Those are the kind of stories we love to hear. We've met before, Elizabeth, but so many times we hear kind of the negative stories about the VA and with veterans. I really find it refreshing sometimes to hear a positive story. So thank you for sharing that.
Okay, I spend too much time at home listening to the radio, and I'm really concerned about this, the immense presence of suicide in our country, and it's wonderful that. So this is a place where a number of people can get help, and I hope. How do we reach out to them?
How do we reach out to those individuals? I think that's the nut we're trying to crack, and we're spending a lot of effort doing that, both with, trying to reach out to employers to let them know. We're trying to reach out to individuals. We go to different events like this, and that's how we're trying to kind of crack that nut and get a hold of those folks.
Hi, Steve. I'm from my sister's closet. We have a number of women come in occasionally that have resumes that are just completely full of acronyms, like 40, 50
Sure.
acronyms on a page sometime. And after being deployed, they're having such a hard time with the trauma of fitting back into civilian life and talking about what they've been able to do in, you know, in a situation where they're in front of an employer and they're trying to get a
Mhm.
job and they're not able to talk in civilian terms about what they did. And so it's really kind of a difficult translation thing, to be
Mhm.
able to move those resumes along and change them. Do you
Sure.
have a program where you help?
I
with
do.
that?
I've got the answer for you. There's a program within the Department of Workforce Development. There's a gentleman by the name of Jerome Brown. He is the Disabled Veteran Outreach Program Specialist. Kind of a mouthful, but its acronym is DVOP. His job is to help veterans get jobs. So he goes through everything from resume writing to how to dress for success, how to set yourself up to get that next position. And the Department of Workforce Development has two folks here locally that their whole role is to help veterans. They've got Jerome and then Pat, who just was hired in about 2 weeks ago. She's what's called a local veteran employment representative, and she actually works with employers, goes out and figures out with employers, you know, what kind of things that she advertises to them, the kind of skill sets that veterans bring to the job market, and helps get veterans connected to those jobs. So if you need, I can get you the contact information for Jerome, and that he would be a fantastic person to get them in contact with.
As I understand it, Steve, there are an estimated 355 homeless people in Bloomington and Monroe County. And you tell us that maybe as many as 17 of those are veterans. Number one, I mean, how does that happen in a country like the USA?
I don't know.
And number two, to what extent is your office aligned with organizations that provide care for the homeless? Beacon Incorporated,
Sure.
Wheeler
Yeah.
Mission, Heading Home.
Every other week, we sit down with those organizations when we do our veterans case conferencing. And so we're tied in with all of the homeless service providers in Monroe County. And so we're going line by line, name by name, each homeless veteran in our community. We know who they are. We know where they're at. We know what they need, and we're trying to get them to get all those things taken care of. So we're really tightly aligned with those folks who are doing that work. Yeah. And then your question of like, how did that happen? I have no idea. Yeah.
So I was interested to know, I know I live near where the new VA clinic's going to be. And so I'm interested to know what services are going to be there. Could you delve a little more into that? What might be there?
Well, off the top of my head, they're going to have primary care. They'll have vision. They'll have specialty clinics that will come in like one day a week. There'll be like cardiology. They'll have pulmonology, and we're told audiology at this point. So there's probably, the reality is that list will change. It'll grow, it'll shrink. And as we learn more, we're trying to let the community know what the VAs. In fact, we just got a press release from the VA hospital just before I got here today. There's going to be a beam signing event at the North Lintel Drive location where the new clinic is going to be on October 23rd at 11 a.m. If anyone has any desire for that, I can share with you the press release on that. So there's going to be a beam signing event October 23rd on North Lintel Drive.
Thanks. I wanted also to say thank you very much for all the VA services. I said there are people who don't want them, but there are also people who, when they're finally talked into it, get excellent, excellent care at the various services and at the VA hospital, which we can't say enough good things about for our friend.
Well, I'm glad to
Thanks.
hear that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And we thank you a lot, but can we thank our veterans? Can the veterans in the audience please stand up and we want to thank them and recognize them.
Thank you for your service. I really appreciate it.
And then Thank you, Steve. On behalf of your program, which has been phenomenal, we will be donating $100 to the Bloomington Refugee Project. And I will just say, working closely with Beacon on the capital campaign, I know of two veterans that your team is helping to try to find a house. And John, who lives in a red Subaru that's very beat up with his dog Bella, and Scott, who lives in a green, some kind of SUV. But I know that your team's out there every week with them. So thank you. And hopefully we'll get them housed soon.
That is our goal. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You have a wonderful day.
Oh, sorry. I'm taking that mic with me. Okay. So, as you all know, we couldn't do the program without the help of all the wonderful people in here. Natalie, our executive assistants, for all that you do. And I started to say Mark as greeter, but it's Lynn as our greeter. And Mark, for your flexibility in doing the introductions. Joy Harder, it is Joy Harder as our Zoom host instead of Alon this time. And then Reflection, Mr. Baker. That was fun to see all the stuff that we've done. So thank you for that. Elizabeth Thompson, thank you for your hard work on reporting. And Michael, of course, as the camera and mic operator. Charlotte, nice job on the wonderful program and introduction. And then Jim and Alon, as always, for pictures that you take, and Tyler for all the audio. Next week, we'll have a meeting on the 22nd in the Frangipani Room, and our speaker will be George Tettelhorst from IU discussing Indiana and life sciences. And with that, if we could do the four-way test, please. Of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun?